Good morning, distinguished speakers, guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zivana Letisha, and I will be the moderator for the first session of this event. And once again, welcome to Voyage to Indonesia seminar, Women Participation for Economic Inclusiveness. The first topic for this morning is narrowing the gender gap, boosting economic growth. This is a very interesting issue because many studies have shown that greater gender equality really boosts economic growth, and better economic growth leads to a better development. And in this session, we really want to hear from our 6 panelists. They're coming from different backgrounds, different industries, from public sectors, government, and also international organizations. They will share their point of views and also the presentation about how they could help Indonesian women to contribute more, to engage more to the economic development. And also, there must be a challenge we must face along the process, and we also would like to hear about the presentation about that. Now, without any further ado, I will invite all the panelists to come on stage. Please welcome the first one, Ibu Nurhaida, as Vice Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Indonesia Financial Services Authority. Kepada Ibu Nurhaida, silakan naik ke atas panggung, Bu. Also, please welcome the second speaker, Mr. Rubin Japhta, as SME Banking Specialist and the Gender Finance Specialist for IFC in the East Asia and Pacific region. Good morning, sir. Next one, Ibu Vivi Alatas, as Lead Economist for the World Bank's Poverty Program in Indonesia, World Bank Group. Selamat pagi, Ibu Vivi. Please welcome on stage. Next one, Ms. Sabine Machl, as Country Representative UN Women Indonesia and liaison to ASEAN. Mrs. Sabine, welcome on stage. And also would like to invite Ibu Faida as Regent of Jember East Java Province. Yang terhormat Ibu Bupati Faida, Bupati Jember, silakan Ibu. And we also would like to invite to come on stage Ibu Phillia Wibowo as partner McKinsey and Company, President Director of PT McKinsey Indonesia. Silakan Ibu. Okay, so all the panelists are here already, and we're going to start the discussion. Each of the panelists will deliver the presentation for about 5 minutes each, and then we will have a discussion and then continue with the question and answer session. So if you have any question, feel free to prepare the question list and you can ask it at the very last of the session this morning. All right, maybe we can start first from Ibu Nurhaida. Silakan Ibu untuk menyampaikan presentasinya.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to speak in front of everyone here today. Okay, good morning, everyone. Oh, this one is better. Okay, I would like, my name is Nurhaida. I'm from the OJK, or Indonesia Financial Services Authority. I would like to give my point of view on how the financial literacy and financial inclusiveness is very important for women. We just heard from the Ministry, Her Excellency, Ministry of Finance, how gender inequality has become very hamper for the woman to become taking part in the economic development. We know that gender inequality has made the women become less participate in economic growth. So I would like to see how important it is to the woman to have equality. And then I will start with a little bit on the data, international data, on how gender inequality, and then the programs that OJK has so far to improve the participation of women in economy through literacy and inclusiveness for economic. The importance of women, why we said the importance of the woman is very important, because as we know that 50% of our population are women. And then this is a critical economic players. And if you look at the woman productive age, like 67% of women are on the productive age. And then why we said this is very important for us to realize the role of women. If you look at the small part of the society, there was a family. Most of the time we know that women is become the minister of finance for a family. Why? Because they are taking very important roles in managing household resources. And the women also have major role in financial habits transmission to their children. So we know that knowledge of women about economy and about literacy is very important, because with this very important role of women, then we can say that if the women have less illiterate, then we can see that the loss for the economic growth in the future. From this consideration, we have lower financial literacy at the women right now, and we have also lower financial inclusion. From the data, this survey that was conducted by OJK in 2006, financial literacy for women is like 25.5%, and for men is about 33.2%. The financial inclusion is higher. For women is 66.2%, and for men is 69.6%. And if you look at the role of women in financial management, from our survey, we know that the survey result like 51.1%. The decision making in management, financial management in a family, is conducted by housewife, and only like 48.4% when they have to make decision, they are kind of both from husband and wife, and only like 0.5% which is decision made by husband. And mostly for the decision to use financial products, that's mostly for short-term financing, short-term investment, the decision is made by women. Now, I like to continue with financial literacy initiative. So as we already know that financial initiative is very important, the literacy is very important for women. So we have a lot of programs in OJK. We have like education for women. We also have inclusion for women in using smartphones. Maybe I can elaborate more later on. And we also have programs, what we call the collaboration with other financial institutions to make more understanding or more literate for women and for financial inclusion. I think that's for the beginning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Nurhaida, for the brief explanation from OJK. Up next, we will hear the explanation about this from Mr. Rubin Japhta. To Mr. Rubin Japhta, please.
Selamat pagi, good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure if my presentation is on the screen, but I mean, I'll speak about the topic regardless. The focus that I would like to focus on is women's financial inclusion, especially women, small and medium enterprises. We know from numerous studies that IFC and the World Bank has done that 30% of all small and medium enterprises are owned by women. And yet we find that 70% of women SMEs, and these are formal women SMEs, are underserved by financial institutions in terms of their financial needs. And closing these gaps won't only be good for women in terms of gender equality, but it's also great for the economy, it's great for financial institutions who want to grow their market share, who wants to become more profitable. So there's a very strong business case for closing these gender gaps. If we move to the next slide, and the Honorable Minister spoke about the statistics and the work that was, the study that was done by the World Economic Forum in terms of their gender gap report. This is a stat kind of just taking a snapshot of Indonesia. It's good to see that they've moved at least 4 places in the rankings out of 144 countries. But if you look at the 4 dimensions, which measures the gender gap for countries, for Indonesia, it is the economic participation of women that is the area that needs the most attention. If you look at education, is much better. Women in politics and health and education, that's stronger. So studies that have been done by McKinsey have shown that women kind of labor force participation, if we close that gap, it could add $28 trillion to the global economy. The ILO has done a similar study which has shown even if we decrease the gap by 25%, by the year 2025, that could add almost $6 trillion to GDP, which means about $1.5 trillion in tax revenues, which can be used for poverty alleviation and all kinds of activities. So it really makes good business sense. It's not only, of course it's important that men and women are treated equally in all aspects of society, but there's also a very strong business and economic case for doing so. If we move to the next slide, again we see a recent study that was done by the IFC and the World Bank shows that the gap in terms of financing needs by women SMEs, or actually micro, small, and medium, is about 1.5 trillion US dollars. So pretty large. And the fact that a third of the SME population is made up of women. The other more recent area that we've been looking at is in insurance. How do we safeguard, especially women's futures? And the idea of insurance become very important. And again, there's a business case why insurance companies should be taking the women's market seriously, because by 2030, there could be a $1.7 trillion demand for insurance from women. So it's really a no-brainer for the private sector to really respond to this need. The other important area is that in a household, women makes 85% of the household's financial purchasing decisions. So again, no-brainer, $20 trillion of spend is controlled by women globally on an annual basis. Again, very strong motivation to pay very close attention to the women's market, and not enough attention, in my view, has been paid to the women's market by the private sector. If we look at the study that we did in Indonesia, looking at the women's market, women SME market, we found that 34% of medium-sized companies are owned by women in Indonesia, 51% of small owned by women. If we include micro, together it makes up almost 60% of all micro, small, and medium enterprises are owned by women. The microfinance institutions have done well, the banks on the SME side, because bank financing for small and medium is still the main source of financing. Not so good if you look at the portfolio of banks, very low participation. The question is why? There's such a large market. Why is it that women, once they graduate from micro enterprises into small and medium, is access to finance becoming an issue? And the fact that SMEs contribute 9% towards the GDP, women SMEs 9%, I'm sorry, my slide shows 19. That 19% is actually the SME financing gap in Indonesia is equivalent to 19% of Indonesia's GDP. That's about $166 billion is the financing gap for SMEs. If you just take the women percentage of that, it is 60. million. Just the next slide quickly, and we won't have time. I mean, even if we look at a sector, I mean, IFC did, again, a study. We worked with Ecom, one of the largest coffee marketing companies. They were just focusing their training on men. But if you looked at the on-farm jobs and who were doing it, it was mainly women. 80% of those on-farm jobs were being done by women. But they weren't the ones being trained. So if you want to increase productivity, why are you not training the women? And by just refocusing that project, that has had a major impact on productivity and farmer income. So look forward to having discussions during the panel session on what are the other constraints and what can be done to close those gaps. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Rubin Japhta, for the brief explanation. We'll discuss about that later on. And now moving to Ibu Vivi Alatas as lead economist for the World Bank. Silakan,
Thank you very much. I would like to start by noticing, if I try to estimate, there is only probably around 20% men in the audience here. I think addressing this issue needs by starting willingness to discuss, not only from women, but also from men. Addressing gender inequality is the right thing to do. We cannot choose our gender. So an equal opportunity is needed, but as we know, Bu Ani already beautifully explained about like what kind of challenge that women face along the life cycles. Participation rate globally only around 50%. Indonesia is also around 50%. It means that there is untapped 50%. And women generally earn less than men, even though having the same education. If we try to control using econometric, same education, same sector, same experience, there is still 30% unexplained. Why they have like lower wages than men. And not only that, like as mentioned by Bu Ani, it's more difficult to get good job, but even more difficult to climb the ladders to get like good positions. The studies from Grant Thornton International Business Report state that there's only 21% of senior management roles occupied by women globally. And our friend from IFC, Rubin, already mentions about the women devote more for work unpaid workers. For example, like the amounts of like times that women do for caring is 2 to 10 times higher than men. Informal workers, of course, like it's not a surprise that we have much more women working as informal workers, 3 times more working as unpaid and casual workers. And social norms are another challenge that faced by women. Nearly 4 in 10 globally, when there is a survey globally, agreed that when jobs are scarce, men should have more right to the jobs than women. Perempuan nomor 2. Legal discriminations. Out of 143 economies, 128 at least have one legal gender differentiation, such as difficulty to obtaining ID, use or own property, build credit, or get job. Of course, in terms of the voice political, Bu Ani already mentioned that we do need to have like more voices coming from women. But as mentioned earlier, this is not only just about human rights. This is also the smart things to do. If Indonesia would like to address inequality, if the goal of the world is addressing extreme poverty and inducing shared prosperity, then the biggest tickets comes from participating women. Globally, already mentioned before that the cost is around 160.2 trillion US dollar. Goldman Sachs study also showing that if only women earn as much as the men, the gender gap in employment could push income per capita by 14% higher by 2020. But not only about economy, addressing gender inequality is a win-win on many fronts. If you want to educate the nations, you have to educate the women. Why? Because women invest more for others, invest for their family, invest for their community. For example, women typically reinvest more their income into their children than men, which in turn benefit the entire household. This is not only on education, nutrition, and healthcare. This will cut the intergenerational trap of poverty. So if we, for example, if we add additional 1-year education for women, it will delay marriage, decrease child and maternal mortality. In Indonesia, we have huge problem of maternal mortality. Our maternal mortality is 12 times higher than our neighbor, Singapore. Child marriage is also a big issue. This is also about law in Indonesia. In Indonesia, the law of child marriage for women is 16. Like people can marry if it is above 16 years old and above. But what happened? Yes, for those between 15 to 16, it has been decreasing from 3.5 to 1.5%. But for those about around 16, it's still around 20%. So what can be done to address gender inequality? I do not have like much time, but I can talk about it later. But there are a lot of things that can be done in terms of addressing inequality. Along the life cycle, there are a lot of challenges, but also a lot of opportunity if we want to address. But it starts by giving women and men equal opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibu Vivi. What an interesting point of view. Now we're going to continue to Mrs. Sabine.
Thank you very much, and also thank you for the invitation to this really interesting forum. And a lot has been said. I think my slides will come up, and there will be some repetition, so I will skip that. It was said already. And I think it was also really great to hear the minister this morning also speaking about the mindset change. I think this is really what it comes down to if you're looking into discussing this topic. I think I'll not go into the labor force participation and so on. As we have already seen globally, there is actually a sliding back in the last 3 decades. There's actually less women today than there were in the 90s. And also the gender pay gap globally is that a woman earns around $12,000 per year and a man $21,000 a year. So I mean, these are just figures I think, you know, has been illustrated in the by the previous speakers already quite in depth. Maybe we can go to slide number 4 very briefly, which is about the occupational segregation. I think this is very important to also mention that very often we find women in the lower paid, lower skilled works with greater job insecurity, and we only have, for example, at the managerial level, 22% women, yeah? If we are looking at these figures globally. And there is obviously structural barriers and also gender-based discrimination of why this situation exists, very often, you know, linked to a number of factors that have been mentioned already before, which I don't need to repeat here. The unpaid work was coming up. This will be slide number 5, where we can see the developing countries and also developed countries. It's not so different. In all of the countries, women are actually working more, longer hours. You can see this up on the slide now. And this is due also to the fact that the women are much more found in the unpaid work. Very often family duties, being home with the children, caring for the elderly, this is very much on the shoulders of women. And I think the minister also mentioned in her introduction that it would be really important that this domestic work is valued, this unpaid work. It contributes so much to all the economies all over the world, and this is where we find so many women actually working. So I think the next slide was already referred to a couple of times by all the different studies and the data we have of if we have more women employed, that this would really make a significant difference in many economies, including in Indonesia. And I wanted to directly go to the next slide, which is about the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. This is the universal call to end poverty, to protect our planet, and to ensure that all men and women enjoy peace and prosperity. And I think this very ambitious agenda that we have is about the topic of today, about inclusiveness, about leaving no one behind. And women have such an important role to play in all the 17 goals that we have in the Sustainable Development Goals. I've actually put only the 3 up there. Number 5, which is about the gender equality. Number 8, which is about the decent work. But also number 10, about reducing inequalities. Just last week I saw a report, which was done by some colleagues in SCAP, which said that we are really doing not very well on the reducing inequalities, goal number 10. This is the only goal where we are here in Southeast Asia are actually moving backwards. whether inequalities are increasing and not becoming smaller. So I think this is also really important when we are speaking about having women's empowerment and having them included in all the decision-making processes, to keep in mind that this is something very important to continue. What we are doing here in UN Women, just very briefly, we have together with the UN Global Compact launched the Women's Empowerment Principles in 2010. These are 7 key principles. You can see them on the next slide. They're up there. Where basically the private business is also joining the force and saying that we need to work towards gender equality and women's empowerment. In Indonesia, we have about 10 companies that have signed up for these women's empowerment principles. And globally, we have about 1,900 companies that have already said, we are going to look into our own processes, we are going to look into our own policies of how can we make it easier and better for women to actually, also thrive in our business. Apart from the women's empowerment principles, we can talk about this more if there is an interest. We are currently doing a study here in Indonesia of 50 companies of how much is already being done, how much is gender equality already promoted, how many firms are already looking into that. We also have another program which is called Empowered Women and Peaceful Communities. This is also here in East Java, in some of the villages. And one of these components is also to look into the economic empowerment and the women's leadership for the social cohesion and strengthening the resilience, in particular at the community level. We have been working through some loan save schemes and also on peace villages with very specific indicators. There are 5 villages here in East Java. And this brings me already to the very last slide, which is a quote of our first executive director of UN Women that you can also see up on the slide. I think very important what was also said in the morning in this regard is to look at gender-responsive planning and budgeting, to making this a reality at the national level as well as at the local and the district levels when looking at the budgets of how this affects the men and the women, as well as also looking into really investing in women as a very smart strategy because we are not starting from the same starting point. I would like to end here.
All right, please give a round of applause to Mrs. Sabine. That's a very interesting point of view as well from the international organization. And now we're moving to local representative, which is Ibu Faida, selaku Bupati Jember, Provinsi Jawa Timur. Ibu Faida, silakan.
Baik, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, good morning. I try to presentation in English and Bahasa, but my slide in English. If you hear about Jember, it identical with Jember Fashion Carnival. This is the 3rd best carnival in the world after Carnival in Rio de Janeiro. Please welcome to Jember and 7 until 12 August. Sebentar lagi. Bila kita melihat data dari angka di Jember, 17% dari penduduk perempuan Jember itu adalah angkatan kerja dan dari 17 itu 4%-nya adalah perempuan bekerja sebagai buruh tembakau. Perempuan bekerja beramai-ramai setiap hari sebagai buruh tembakau. Mengapa demikian? Sekarang ini pada masa transition era, di mana old value that nearly gone, but the new value haven't built yet. Kita sebut namanya anomi, di mana husband responsible of their family dan perempuan hanya cukup melayani keluarga saja. Namun pada kenyataannya tidak sedikit perempuan yang mengambil jalan sebagai businesswoman dan dia mengambil untuk support ekonomi keluarga, karir dan self-actualization. Dan oleh karenanya perempuan memilih bisnis yang terikat dengan kehidupan sehari-harinya, menggunakan hati, bisnis yang personal, dan mereka ingin pekerjaan itu bisa disambi dalam kehidupan sehari-harinya. Oleh karenanya perempuan mempunyai gaya bisnis yang berbeda. Karena anomi tadi, maka kita lihat perempuan kita banyak bekerja di sektor-sektor yang sebenarnya adalah sektor yang penting untuk kehidupan kita di masa depan, seperti the most of pre-elementary teacher in Jember kebanyakan adalah perempuan. Mereka bekerja dengan gaji yang kecil tapi dengan tanggung jawab yang besar. termasuk untuk kader posyandu, di mana mereka bertanggung jawab pula atas angka kematian ibu di kota, tetapi mereka bekerja dengan gaji yang kecil dan honor yang tidak menentu. Dan sekarang kita buat honor dengan inklusi keuangan untuk mereka akses dengan lembaga keuangan. Karena menurut penelitian, perempuan yang berakses dengan lembaga keuangan mereka lebih sejahtera. Namun tidak sedikit perempuan yang bekerja dengan kelompok ekonomi dalam koperasi perempuan. Kalau kita lihat, perempuan tetap bekerja dengan kehidupan sehari-hari seperti bekerja di pasar menjual kebutuhan sehari-hari. Ini adalah potensi yang besar yang belum digarap dengan baik karena sebenarnya perempuan senang dilayani dengan berkomunikasi langsung. Maka kenyataannya ketika kembangkan belanja online, tetap mereka ingin yang mengantarkan perempuan dan tetap bisa berkomunikasi karena human touch tidak bisa digantikan dengan elektronik. Kita tinggal memberi kesempatan untuk mereka menjual dengan cara-cara modern. Ada 4 kelebihan perempuan baik sebagai leader maupun sebagai businesswoman. Perempuan lebih luas berkomunikasi, perempuan lebih mudah menemukan, lebih jeli menemukan peluang, dan perempuan adalah orang yang lebih kreatif. Lebih telaten, lebih detail. Kita lihat saja produk-produk packaging, labeling, dan hal-hal simpel yang membuat added value biasa baik di tangan perempuan. Perempuan tidak mudah putus asa, dan yang penting menurut data ada 137 triliun untuk 10 juta debitor. Ternyata BDEP yang 0% itu adalah dari debitor perempuan. 100% membayar lunas. Mohon maaf laki-laki ini yang bicara data. Coba kita lihat produk-produk dengan sentuhan perempuan di produk-produk lokal dan kita jangan pernah mengabaikan para lansia. 10% dari penduduk kita adalah lansia dan ternyata setelah mereka pensiun justru mereka memulai sebagai businesswoman. Oleh karenanya training yang diperlukan untuk para wanita yang pertama adalah training yang sesuai banyak diperlukan dalam kehidupan mereka. Dan mereka bisa bergrup karena perempuan tidak senang sendiri, bisa bergotong royong dan bisa dikerjakan di rumah, kebutuhannya besar dan yang penting meskipun perempuan tidak mudah putus asa, ketika memulai mereka harus dijamin mereka tidak gagal karena ini menyangkut harga diri. Oleh karenanya pada pelatihan-pelatihan jangan hanya memberi mereka pelatihan tapi pastikan dari hasil pelatihan itu mereka bisa bekerja, mereka bisa mendapat pekerjaan. Ini yang paling penting. Dan contoh ini misalnya kita di Jember melakukan, kita membantu para siswa miskin dengan memberikan seragam gratis dan seragam itu ditukar kupon untuk kelompok-kelompok penjahit perempuan yang dilatih, dibantu dengan mesinnya, meskipun mesinnya tidak gratis, nanti dibayar dengan sebagian dari ongkos jahit karena perempuan sangat kooperatif dalam keuangan. Tapi mereka perlu diberi kepastian, mereka tidak akan gagal. Kurang lebih itu yang kita awali dan salah satu contoh yang penting adalah bahwa kita lupa bahwa untuk best intervention harus ada 3 yang tidak boleh dipisahkan. Yang pertama regulasi, yang kedua manajerial, yang ketiga edukasi. Untuk regulasi kita ambil bahwa ada 1.000 warung rakyat yang dibantu pemerintah untuk menjual barang-barang pokok. Karena warung rakyat lebih senang menjual rokok, modalnya kecil, untungnya besar. Daripada menjual beras, modalnya besar, untungnya kecil. Inilah sebenarnya yang peluang yang harus kita kerjakan dari manajerial. Bahwa sering-sering pemerintah hanya membuat job fair hanya untuk laki-laki. Laki-laki tidak perlu dibantu karena mereka sudah bisa bersaing dengan sehat. Seharusnya job fair itu khusus perempuan dan difabel. Dan tahun ini kita bikin itu di Kabupaten Jember. Kita lihat bagaimana coaching-coaching klinik kita sering melakukan dari Kementerian Perindustrian sering melakukan coaching klinik. Tapi seharusnya coaching klinik itu sudah harus untuk kebutuhan yang jelas. Direkrut oleh pasar-pasar modern. Di Jember kita membuat regulasi, pasar modern, toko retail modern harus 30% menjual produk-produk lokal dari UMKM dan yang UMKM itu di Jember mayoritas adalah perempuan. Pasar yang jelas harus diatur dengan regulasi dan manajerial. Edukasi diberikan dengan kegiatan satu sekolah, satu TNI, di mana TNI masuk ke sekolah-sekolah dan salah satu materinya bela negara dengan menggunakan produk lokal. Sampai semua orang merasa bersalah apabila tidak menggunakan produk lokal, sedangkan produk lokal itu ada. Ini adalah salah satu untuk mengungkit kesempatan ekonomi karena produk lokal kebanyakan ditangani oleh perempuan. Kurang lebih demikian, mudah-mudahan ada manfaat untuk kita semuanya.
Terima kasih banyak Ibu Faida. Very interesting about the projects and upcoming projects. And good luck also for the Jember Fashion Carnival ya Ibu. Kita tunggu beritanya karena biasanya kostumnya meriah-meriah sekali ya Bu. Oke, next we continue to Ibu Phillia Wibowo, partner McKinsey and Company, President Director of PT McKinsey Indonesia. Silakan.
Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk semuanya. Saya Phillia Wibowo, saya orang Indonesia. Saya kelahiran Bandung. Ibu dari seorang anak, mom for one son and wife of one husband. Saya lulusan matematika ITB. I'm a mathematician by first degree. So the rare degree, I'm a mathematician by first degree. Tapi sudah lama I didn't look into a triple integral calculus, so please don't ask me that, right? So, okay, I will go quite fast, right? So first, maaf ini directionnya kemana ya? Mungkin saya tolong dibantu aja ya untuk di sana. Okay. So the first one, this one I'll go very fast because agreeing with all the imperatives that basically the minister has said and everyone has said, right? We do believe that advancing women equality actually has significant GDP growth potential, right? We look into the world and basically there is an up to $28 trillion GDP globally can be added. Or even if you achieve the mid case, it's $12 trillion GDP could be added. And if you look into Asia, it's actually $4.5 trillion, which is equivalent to GDP of Germany and Austria. And let's just get straight to Indonesia. We believe there is $135 billion GDP could be added to Indonesia, which means 9% of Indonesia GDP, right? Now, where does this come from? This one, many people have said, right? But we actually divided into three sources. One is actually from labor force participation rate. If there is a way to make women able to participate more in the labor force is 40%, right? If there is a way to enable women to take more formal jobs and able to work more normal hours, that's 40%, and 50% is actually from increasing productivity. This means shifting from sector, lower productivity to higher productivity, or leveraging digital so that the sector, the work can be more productive. As an example, McKinsey has a digital capability center in Singapore, partnership with the EDB in Singapore. We actually experiment with number of technology that enable automation of certain tasks. So you have a robotic arms, right? So basically, even if you're women, you could actually use it, right? You have a self-driving trolley, so you don't need muscles to actually push a trolley. So that enables women to participate in a higher productivity sector like manufacturing, for example. Yeah. Next one, right? Now, there are many indices that has been mentioned. Can you show before, please? Yeah. Before this one, yeah. Can you show all the, yes. There are, we in McKinsey Global Institute, we have researched this since 2015. We have researched women leadership science since 10 years ago. And we believe the most complex index that we need to look at is actually what we call gender parity score, where we look at both equality at work and equality in society, right? Equality at work, this is basically the labor force participation rate, women in professional and technical job, wage gap, leadership position for women, unpaid care work. How do we take care of that, right? Equality in society, we think there are three parts of it. One is basically the essential services enablers like maternal mortality, digital inclusion, financial inclusion, education, right? There is a second element in society which is legal protection and political voice. Ibu Ani and Ibu Yohana already mentioned about that, right? Last but not least, physical security and autonomy. Do you feel safe? Bodily, safe from any bodily harm when you go to work, right? Now, we believe that these are equally important. So it's not only about at work, but it's also at the society. There is correlation on that, right? Now, this is, we measure this globally across multiple countries, and the part that is highlighted is Indonesia, right? Now, the message is a few. We are midway in some, a little bit less in others, right? We are midway in the equality at work. In terms of society, there are some that we're less and there are some that we're more, right? Now, worth mentioning that basically in the situation where, yeah, go to the next page, it's okay, right? We are actually better than Asia Pacific average, but we're not the best yet. Philippines is the best. Actually, not only in Asia Pacific, but globally also, right? One of the initiatives worth mentioning, Philippines actually have instituted the Women Commission for Development, and like Ibu Ani said, Philippines actually has a gender and development budget. 5% of the budget is actually allocated, Ibu, to and Bapak, right, to measures for improving gender equality. This is not for campaign, but for fixing infrastructure for women, for example, for enforcement, and so forth. Yeah. Now, we are basically where we are. Just keep on the previous page. Keep on the previous page, right? We are where we are because at work, you know, one of our problem is actually in the talent pipeline. This one has been mentioned also by Ibu Ani, right? We are actually very good at the entry level, 50-50. But when it comes to middle management and senior management and board member, you can see that the 50-50 figure goes into 13% and 5%. Yeah. This is exactly what had been discussed earlier. How do we provide the right infrastructure for women to continue to the top leadership position, right? Now, this is resonating what Pak Rubin has said, right? That basically, aside from the formal sector, there are 24 million women work in informal sectors in Indonesia, right? And both in informal sector and labor force participation, we want to point out that basically the need to invest in infrastructure will actually increase the ability for women to participate at work. Because unpaid care is a big source, right? And unpaid care, this is lack of sanitation, clean water, cooking fuel, for example. So campaigning for the cause of women is not only about for, yes, please make 50-50 or what have you, but basically it's investing in real stuff like infrastructure, like early childhood care and all, right? Women in Indonesia is very entrepreneur, 51%, right? You know, and we think that digital provide an opportunity because we see that 15% in offline business is from women, but 35% in online commerce is actually from women, right? Now, just to close, right? Because the time is short, right? We believe that basically this is it takes a village to actually solve the problem, right? So we believe that basically, yes, government does play a role, infrastructure, legislation and all, but corporations also play a role, right? Company policies that allows women to advance their career if they merit, you know, not requiring them to move across locations, for example, could help, right? But policies on unpaid maternity leave, by the way, giving paternity leave, paid paternity leave, also helpful in corporations, right? Worth mentioning one more thing, which is individuals, because we as women, we also need to have the confidence to participate in diversity intervention and mentor others and seek for mentorship. And last but not least, a public-private partnership will be required. So very happy to see the mix of people that we have here. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ibu Phillia. Very complete explanation. And maybe everyone have delivered the presentation really quick. And now it's the time for us to maybe elaborate more about the presentation itself. And maybe we could go back to Ibu Nurhaida from OJK. Ibu Nurhaida has explained that women are actually Ministry of Finance in the family, betul ya Bu ya? And because of that statement, maybe we could go back to the theme, which is the financial inclusion. How do you think how to effectively promote financial inclusion and also equitable economic growth throughout Indonesia, I think?
Well, thank you. Well, I think that despite the inequality that we just mentioned, that a lot of, since this morning we discussed about inequality, to improve or to empower women to be participate in economic growth, actually I think we have, I would like to say the opportunity that women have. Ibu Phillia slides just show that 50% of small business belongs to women, and in OJK we have a very special programs for women, and one of them is education. And because we said that the small business for women is unlikely to develop because they have a small opportunity. So what we have in OJK, we establish the programs for them to have more access to capital, because their business is not developed very much because they have a small opportunity to capital. So we have the programs, what we call peer-to-peer lending, for instance. It's mostly for small, medium enterprises. Basically, peer-to-peer lending is that there are some investor through the platform, peer-to-peer lending, then this investor will lend their money, their capital for small, medium enterprises. And then with that programs, we hope that these small and medium enterprises, which is more belongs to women, can grow even better. So they have opportunity to grow. And with that in mind, we hope that this is a kind of financial inclusion that we would like to see, and the opportunity for the women to grow their business. And of course, another thing that very important is literacy, because women cannot really compete with men because their rate of literacy is lower than men. So I think that two things has to be workable, both sides. Literacy and also inclusiveness of economy. So I think that's a thing that we need to do even better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Nurhaida. And moving to Mr. Rubin Japhta, you've said that the 99.9% of business units in Indonesia is the small, medium enterprises, right? And around 60% of the MSMEs is owned by women with limited access to financing. Maybe it's also related to what Ibu Nurhaida has just said. And how do you think women in the MSMCs solve the limitation? And how do you think is the best strategies to promote women's economic empowerment through SME financing?
Thank you. I mean, it's a very complex, a very important question, but very complex. Let me try and share some ideas both on the demand side, so from women who wants to gain more access to finance, but currently are struggling to get access to finance, especially bank finance. So I'm talking not so much about the micro enterprises, but more women who own small and medium-sized enterprises. What we see is often that women lack the confidence to go to banks. That's why on the microfinancing side, there's more access because microfinance institutions are in the community, many of them. There's easier access. There's less formality in terms of approaching those institutions. But what we see in a study that was done a couple of years ago in Indonesia is when women actually go to the bank, the chances of their loans being approved is higher than that of men. So the rejection rate of the bank for women's loans are actually lower than for men, often because women are actually, the time that they go, they're really confident that they're going to get the loan. But many who actually would qualify for a loan but don't go due to just lack of confidence. So that needs to change. A lot of cultural impediments as well. I mean, the community puts a lot of pressure on women who owns businesses because women play this dual role. I mean, either as employees or owners of businesses, but they're also the primary caregivers. And sure, this needs to change and become more gender equitable, but I think that's going to take hundreds of more years to reach. So how do we celebrate the fact that women can be entrepreneurs? They do add to the economy. And what we also know is that, or what we often see is that women who own businesses often employ women in their businesses. So again, that's a great thing. If we can promote more women who business owners and they can get access to finance, it means they can grow their businesses and means they can employ more, and as the businesses grow, they can employ more women. But there are also issues on the supply side, the banks. And I mean, I'm not a very strong advocate, if I can speak more even in my personal capacity, of mandates, but the government has placed mandates on banks that 20% of all their loans should be to micro, small, and medium enterprises. But as the minister mentioned, access is not even. So now the banks are compelled by 2018 to have 20% of their loan portfolio to SMEs. How do we know how many of those SMEs are women? We won't know because banks are not required to report on gender disaggregated data. So we've got no clue. And we know from studies that we've done, the percentage is very small when we look at the portfolios of banks, because IFC has 800 banking relationships globally, and we've done these studies. So a number of issues, and when I speak to CEOs and heads of SME, directors of SMEs, they say we are gender blind. Again, the same issue that was raised. Gender blind means mainly we want to keep the status quo. We're happy with the way we're doing business. And they lose out on the fact that there's such a big market, underserved, $60 billion of unmet financial needs by women SMEs. A fantastic opportunity for banks if the scales come off their eyes and they realize just what they have. So a number of areas that needs to be addressed.
All right, Mr. Rubin, you've mentioned that one of the reasons why the women maybe is not really engaged enough with the economic development is because their lack of confidence to go to bank. How do you think we could improve the confidence level of the women itself?
Women are looking for convenience, right? Because they have to play this dual role, and the pressure that the community plays, so they tend to run their businesses from home or close to home, which is often far away from where the banks are located. So some of the work that OJK is doing in terms of promoting digital financial services will mean that Indonesia has one of the largest penetration of smartphones. You can apply for your loan on your smartphone. You don't have to go into this formal bank that looks very scary. You can just go on your phone and actually apply for a loan. So there's a number of ways. The others is just for banks to become more transparent and also to make their requirements for getting a loan more simplistic. What I've seen, even in a study that we just launched that I done in Vietnam, and we've seen the same thing and the same complaints from a study in Indonesia, is that women find it's too bureaucratic to get a loan from a bank. So what they've done, what we see in Vietnam, is that they will rather use their personal credit card, and we know how high is that interest rates. Women are twice as likely to use their credit card to finance their business than to go and apply for a business loan where the rates are much lower, and they can do much more with that financing than using. So banks, the products are pretty similar, but the features of those products, understanding women, understanding how they're doing business, and the channels can really help to make it easier for women to access finance.
All right, that's a very interesting point of view. And maybe there will be another addition from Ibu Phillia. Silakan, Bu.
Yes, thank you. So just pointing out that sometimes applying for a loan could be scary, but maybe using platforms that they already use to actually then induce them to go into this path. For example, our research on digital commerce revealed that basically 35% of the revenue in digital commerce actually comes from women-operated or women-owned businesses, compared to 15% if it's offline, right? There are examples, in many other countries like UOB and Lazada Bank and e-commerce platform partnering up together to actually then, go into the financial services product, bringing the bank to them, as opposed to basically they go to the bank, right? Just like Ibu Nurhaida say, right? And using the platform that they're already used to anyway. So I think one solution is actually to partner up with the non-bank institution that women already have comfort with, right? Like selling online is something that sometimes women do more comfortably, right? And bank could also benefit from the data generated, right? Because another problem for bank to give rational loans is actually an inability to give the right credit scoring for any actually MSME in the first place. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, that's interesting as well. And maybe we could move to Ibu Vivi. Maybe is there any point of view about the topic we just discussed with Mr. Rubin and Ibu Phillia?
Okay, I think there are a lot of things that needs to be done. Like, of course, like providing ability to be entrepreneurs or working one important things. But what needs to be done is actually from along the life cycles. Like since the beginnings, like early childhood development is a very important one, because not only for the future women, not only for the children, but also it's providing ability for the mother to be able to work. One additional TK in Indonesia within per 10,000 children can actually add quite a lot, 13.3% of like labor force participations. Because like Indonesia only have like this 50%, it's not only just because of preference. Preference matters, but it's also because of like opportunity. There is no opportunity there. The other things, I think like this learning about the STEM is very important. This is, we are talking about like every day there is a talk about 4.0. But the 4.0 is about the race between technology and skills. And skills and STEMs is very important, but there is a norm in here. I also graduated from math, but I remember when I told my math teachers in high school that I would like to study math, he said, why don't you be a doctor instead? Yeah. So there is this norm in here. I will be a really bad doctor, Bu Faida, because I cannot see blood. But there are also other issues in here. But even like on, we have Pak Par, I hope like we had like Bu Puspita, but Bu Puspita already left. Like the tax, the fiscal policies needs to be incentive also, so that you have more women willing to go outside your comfort zone. Currently in Indonesia, you will pay more if you have different NPWP than your husband. You have to nunut sama suami, like in terms of like having NPWP. In Japan, when they try to do that, like empowering women to have their own ID, their own tax ID, it's increased women participations. But like here, and also I think like previously also in some other countries, there is a penalty if you have your own NPWP. This is something that can easily be addressed. There is also issues like Phillia already mentions about infrastructures. Indonesia focus on infrastructure, and it can help a lot. Because a lot of the times like the inactiveness coming because it's too far away. It's worried about safety. There are so many things that has to be done. For example, in Morocco, helping to ensure that like, it's easy to get water, it's actually increased girls' participation by 20%, because usually they have to fetch the waters along for several hours. Then the other ones like electricity is also another one. But not only on infrastructure, we also need to have like family-friendly working conditions. This is like currently we are studying about breastfeeding, for example. Breastfeeding, a lot of like the issues in Indonesia. Only 50% women child to give breastfeeding. While breastfeeding is the best gift that mother can give to their child. Indonesia have stunting problem, number 5 in the whole country. And a lot of the time the dropouts comes because they have to start working. And it's ribet, susah. There is no lactation rooms, etc. Making it easy, inducing public-private partnership, and also making it easier. Like the other thing is also increase maternal leave. Like in Morocco, increase maternal leave from 12 to 14 weeks. It's actually increase a share of working mothers. So there are quite a lot of ways. The other issues is also about currently there is no choices almost of working reduced hours. You either work 0 hours or 40 hours. Some of the educated women would like to have more, who had to have both work. Ability to work, but also ability to care. And this is something that we do need to understand better, how we can induce that. But of course, like with this technology, we hope this will open up a lot of like possibilities on that. I think the need is adopting all kind of like gender care in the lens of the policy. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibu Vivi Alatas. And that's a very interesting point of view where you said we could partnering up with like private sector or like non-bank institution like Ibu Phillia has said. And you also said that technology plays an important role. But if we're talking about poverty, and maybe you know best here about poverty, maybe you could share your point of view with us, the correlation between poverty and the importance of technology and the gender gap itself.
When we talk about poverty, there are 4 drivers in here. The first driver is unequal opportunity. This unequal opportunity, of course, like one of the things is unequal opportunity of the gender. We cannot choose our gender. And really addressing, giving not only unequal opportunities for gender, but unequal opportunity because like where you are born. and also who is your parents, like what is like your educations of parents. And technology can help more in terms of like, currently, for example, like technology can provide us ability to learn anytime, anywhere. I keep saying to my child or my team that I wish I were born later instead of like several decades ago, because like there is like, you don't have like, it's almost like you can aim anything. But then I realized the best important thing that Indonesia needs to do is lifelong learning, and technology can help us for having this lifelong learning. So if the women understands better that there are this opportunity, mau jadi entrepreneur yang export ke segala macam, like Phillia told me last night, like 20 countries, it's totally possible. It's just several clicks away only. To become like a wali kota, like Ibu Fadia, it's totally possible. So, but this is like the things that we need to do is like we need to have like more confidence in terms of like going outside our comfort zone and having this growth mindset. I think like not only on the skills, but the life skills and growth mindset, grit skill is something that sometimes like women have less in terms of like confidence that you can aim high. This is something that we need to push more so that they are more willing to go outside their comfort zone, either as a mother, or as a bupati, or as a worker, or whatever kind of choices that they would like to do in life.
Okay, Ibu Vivi, you also mentioned that some of the women here, maybe they're the working mothers. They want to do both worlds. They want to go to work, but at the same time, they also want to take care of and give the best to their child. And this is based on data. 75% of the world's total unpaid care is undertaken by women, is including the vital tasks that keep household functioning, such as childcare, caring for the elderly, cooking, cleaning, etc. But this is not accounted in the GDP, right? What's your point of view in this unpaid work?
I think it should be counted, but at the same time, we also need to provide opportunity. Because like sometimes like those unpaid work, it's not because of choices, but it's because of like, does not have any other choices. Like this is why like giving childcare, providing infrastructures, like having the right policies in terms of like reduced work hours, improving infrastructure to ensure like safety, to ensure that it will not be too long. I think those are very important in understanding like for that. Like, yes, unpaid, like women work. It's not like I think like if men should try to work like just flip the role for 1 week, turun pasti berat badannya.
Messed up ya Bu.
Yeah. So there are quite a number of things that can be done on that issues.
Okay, so how do we justify the government spending and maybe the support in that area?
It's very important to ensure, like I think like Pak Par is in here, what Bu Ani already mentions regarding the budget counting. But like we need to also look in terms of like who gain for whatever fiscal policies, tax subsidies policies. We've worked together with BKF in terms of understanding the impact on inequality, but we should try to look it into more detail, Pak, in terms of understanding who are, in terms of the gender, that get benefit from all kind of like KUR, or even PKH or others, so that we can get better understanding to what extent the policy and spending are actually encouraging women. Because like 50% for the last 20 years, udah harus diatasi. It's just like there has to be something that needs to be done on that issues.
All right, thank you, Ibu Vivi. Ibu Phillia, is there any more you can add? Maybe
the justification, I think we have. Many people have cited from our McKinsey Global Institute research, we estimate that there is $135 billion of GDP could be added to Indonesia. That is 9% on top of the current GDP. So that we believe is actually justify the discussion about looking into these measures, right? You know, as mentioned, some of the measures that could be taken. In Philippines, there is actually a gender and development budget that is 5% of total budget. right? Which is directed to actually the investment in infrastructure and all, the one that I've mentioned earlier, right? Now the other justification, by the way, it doesn't have to be all government. It could also be private sectors. Because the private sectors and all the corporation would also benefit from actually having more women in the workforce. Indonesia itu kadang-kadang kemana-mana, everywhere you go, sometimes talent is like teh botol. It's like wherever you go, the challenge of growing your business further, the challenge of getting more from your business is actually not having enough talent, right? Now, if we're able to actually find the right measure so that women can stay longer, pursue more like higher position, have the right motivation also, that actually solves the talent challenge for corporations. Therefore, there is justification for government, but there is also justification that says it's not only government, it's a public-private partnership. Yeah.
So every sectors has their own important roles in this area, right? Okay, we've been talking about opportunities for women and around the opportunities, and now I would like to ask Mrs. Sabine about how do actually we make sure that women have the same economic opportunity as men, you think?
I think one factor that we have not spoken so much about is men as well, because I believe everything that has been said is really, really important from all the policies perspective, but I think it also maybe takes a mindset change, right? That men can also help in the household, for example, for the household chores with child education. It could also be good that the man can take paternity leave, like a woman takes maternity leave for a certain time when a child is born because he's the father of this child. And you know, we are not speaking about the working fathers, always about the working mothers. I think it also would need a bit of a discussion maybe in, you know, how this can be shared more of all the work that is going on. I mean, we all are family members, whether we're the mother or the father or our children, right? So in terms of maybe looking at this from a larger perspective. And also one factor, I think it came up a little bit in the discussion, which is also important, is that we still have, unfortunately, all over globally, the issue of violence against women, which is also one of the things I think Ibu Johanna mentioned it in her intervention, that this is also really important to being addressed, because if we want to speak about economic empowerment, opportunities, becoming also more self-confident, you know, not having issues in going to work and on the safety side and so on, this is also really, really important. And we as UN Women have this He for She campaign, which was mentioned briefly, where we are also trying to get men involved in the gender equality work, which we believe is really important. To also share the burden on other areas. So, as I said earlier already, for example, in the family.
Okay, and Ibu Phillia also said that, like the Philippines, the 5% of the national budget allocated to the infrastructure of women development, right? Yeah, and Mrs. Sabine, do you think now women, what I heard is UN Women is currently training government officials in gender responsive budgeting. Can you explain how gender responsive budgeting works and what are the final outputs or goals of these initiatives?
Yes, we are working with the Ministry of Finance and also with Bapenas on gender responsive planning and budgeting. And this can be done at different levels. At the national budget, where you look at the program and how your budgeting actually affects the men and the women on the ground, so that you're really looking at the impact, but you can also do it at a local level or at a district level to look at this. And for example, now in Indonesia, there is the village fund, which is given to every village. This would be really important that men and women have a say over how this money is actually used and what is being done, for example, in the village. What is the most pressing needs? So here again, it's important that men and women have the chance of voicing their needs, what they think is the priority, so that actually in the villages and then also up all the different levels, there is an inclusion of men's and women's voices and their priorities to be financed. And this is what gender responsive planning and budgeting actually means.
All right, thank you. And we're going to Ibu Bupati Jember, Ibu Faida. Ibu sudah menjelaskan banyak sekali program-program yang dilaksanakan di Jember sendiri dengan dalam konteks women empowerment sendiri. Menurut Ibu Faida, apa sih intervensi yang paling baik dilakukan oleh seorang governor atau oleh public sector untuk meningkatkan partisipasi wanita dalam perekonomian ini?
Baik, sebelum saya jawab itu saya ingin menggambarkan ya bahwa ini untuk level lokal seperti di Jember, kabupaten yang masyarakatnya religius seperti itu. Di Jember sudah ada 18 kali ganti bupati dan belum pernah perempuan. Calon bupati perempuan aja tidak ada. Saya calon pertama dan jadi. Padahal kampanyenya semua jangan pilih perempuan, haram memilih perempuan. Jadi bagaimana mau kesetaraan? Kampanye lawan semua mengatakan jangan pilih perempuan, bahkan saya banyak ditolak partai gara-gara saya perempuan. Tapi kenyataannya masyarakat lebih memilih perempuan dan dalam survei itu mereka lebih percaya memilih kepala daerah perempuan karena perempuan bukan penanggung jawab ekonomi keluarga dan diyakini perempuan tidak lebih korup daripada laki-laki. Nah ini perlu dicatat. Jadi sebenarnya dalam survei itu disebutkan mengapa memilih perempuan. Satu, perempuan dinilai tidak korup karena bukan penanggung jawab ekonomi. Dua, perempuan lebih jujur sebagai pemimpin. Ini katanya survei. Dan yang ketiga, perempuan memimpin dengan hati. Rupanya masyarakat ini kurang kasih sayang. Jadi saya mau menggambarkan bagaimana intervensi yang baik. Pada kenyataan realita di lapangan bahwa perempuan itu tidak berhak mengambil keputusan atas dirinya, meskipun itu menyangkut nyawa. Contoh mau melahirkan, dokter memutuskan ini perlu karena perdarahan dan sebagainya, ini perlu sesar. Perempuan yang dalam keadaan kritis sekalipun, dia tidak berhak mengambil keputusan atas dirinya. Masih tunggu suami, tunggu keputusan keluarga. Dan kalau keputusannya tidak, tetaplah risiko di tangan perempuan. Kenyataannya bahwa berarti laki-laki juga bertanggung jawab atas tingginya kematian perempuan. Saya sebelum jadi bupati, saya ini murni dari profesional, saya pengelola rumah sakit murni dari dunia swasta. Saya ini mu'alah politik. Jadi pada pengalaman saya, kalau orang di rumah sakit ini, kalau yang sakit laki-laki ketika sulit biaya, semua orang bergotong royong bagaimana laki-laki bisa sembuh pulang dari rumah sakit. Tapi pasien yang paling banyak pulang paksa karena biaya itu pasien perempuan. Perempuan mengalah untuk kelangsungan keluarga dan laki-laki lebih diperjuangkan karena dia penanggung jawab ekonomi. Demikian juga bahwa selama ini perempuan kalau keluar rumah meninggalkan keluarga banyak dikomplain. Tetapi sebenarnya banyak juga perempuan meninggalkan keluarga, mengeluangkan banyak waktu tetapi kurang bermanfaat. Contoh ini golongannya macan ternak, mama-mama cantik antar anak. Berangkat pagi pulang siang seperti orang ngantor. Anaknya sekolah tapi dia tidak mendapatkan manfaat, belajar tidak, berdagang tidak, hanya bersosialisasi dan kadang-kadang ada ekses-ekses buruk. Walaupun itu satu opportunity, sebenarnya kalau mau intervensi ini populasi besar, macan ternak ini yang harus diurus dulu sama bupati. Mengapa? Paling gampang mengedukasi ibu-ibu. Bagaimana kesetaraan gender, bagaimana ibu-ibu bisa berpeluang sama dengan laki-laki. Kalau kita ngajar laki-laki, kita dapatnya satu saja. Tapi kalau ngajar perempuan, itu ngajar satu generasi. Begitu kira-kira teorinya. Dan kenyataannya intervensi itu tidak cukup dengan satu program. Kebanyakan intervensi yang tidak berhasil maksimal itu karena satu program. CSR banyak kurang efektif. Mengapa? Hanya sekedar menjalankan program, tapi program itu tidak ada kesinambungannya. Tidak ada intervensi yang bisa berhasil kecuali komplit dengan tiga hal. Satu, regulasi, yang kedua manajerial, yang ketiga edukasi. Oleh karenanya pentingnya perempuan ada di dunia pemerintahan, ada di dunia politik. Saya senang banyak menteri perempuan di zamannya Presiden Jokowi, karena sebenarnya hanya perempuan yang paling ngerti perempuan. Saya ambil contoh ini ya, misalnya warung-warung masyarakat kita. Di Jember itu produk yang paling terkenal itu 4C. Kopi, kakao, sigaret karena kita pengekspor cerutu sejak tahun 70-an. Yang ketiga itu culture. Jember Fashion Carnival penggagasnya laki-laki. Yang paling banyak jual kopi perempuan. Tapi kopi yang dijual perempuan harganya secangkir 2.000. Maka yang paling tepat adalah melatih perempuan-perempuan ini sesuai pekerjaannya. Setelah dilatih kita melatih 1.000 barista lokal yang kebanyakan juga emak-emak. yang menjual di warung-warung rakyat. Ketika dilatih, mereka bisa menseduh kopi seperti di kafe-kafe, bisa menjadi kopi latte, cappuccino dan sebagainya, padahal itu kopi-kopinya rakyat, maka kopinya bisa dijual 10.000 dari 2.000, 5 kali lipat. Training yang sudah jelas, kita bantu peralatan-peralatannya, seperti Vietnam drip, alat-alat untuk membuat kopi itu kita bantu. Dan warungnya pun kita desain seperti kafe, tapi tetap suasana rakyat. Mereka perlu belajar pembukuan karena mereka ketika diberi intervensi kesempatan berbisnis tapi mereka tidak mengerti pembukuan, maka mereka tidak tahu sudah di mana, sampai di mana dan akan kemana. Oleh karenanya perlu yang sederhana. Kita melibatkan Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia yang ada di Jember untuk melatih pembukuan sederhana dan untuk mendesain warung-warung rakyat dan warung kopi berjaringan ini. Kita melibatkan Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia yang ada di Jember. Pada dasarnya perempuan bersemangat, tetapi mereka tidak suka sendiri. Mereka senang berkelompok karena sebenarnya perempuan lebih senang bersosialisasi. Oleh karenanya, kalau zaman modern itu saingannya berjaringan, maka perempuan juga harus dibuatkan jalan berjaringan. Karena sejatinya perempuan sendiri saja sudah luar biasa, apalagi perempuan bersama-sama. Karena sekarang katanya the power of emak-emak. Perlu hati-hati sama emak-emak, tidak boleh salah manage emak-emak ini. Yang berikutnya, bagaimana mengedukasi? Kita lihat saja realitanya. Kalau anak-anak kecil kita mau bawa dagangan ke sekolah, mau bantu orang tuanya, sering-sering dilarang di sekolah, anak-anak membawa dagangan. Padahal ini adalah sentuhan entrepreneur pemula. Sebenarnya ada yang perlu diedukasi. Paling gampang adalah libatkan guru TK karena permulaan edukasi ada di sana. Perubahan paradigma itu ada di sana. Saya pikir Menteri Keuangan juga perlu ini membuat satu program khusus dengan pemerintah daerah khusus menyentuh program macan ternak. Membuat entrepreneur macan ternak. Mengapa? Itu keep market. Mereka kebutuhan sehari-harinya di sana. Kenyataannya belanjanya sudah pesan online. Yang nganter juga ibu-ibu tetap aja welijo. Maka kita membantu mereka pasti berhasil. Kalau punya masalah katanya bicara sama laki-laki. Tapi kalau ingin masalahnya selesai, hubungi perempuan. Begitu katanya teorinya. Terima kasih dari saya. Mudah-mudahan ada manfaat.
Terima kasih banyak Ibu Faida. Berarti banyak sekali yang bisa kita ambil dari diskusi kali ini dan it's time for us to do the discussion with the audience. So it's the question and answer session. If there's any one of you who really want to ask a question with one of the panelists, please raise your hand and one of the crew will help you to ask the question, please. Silakan Ibu yang di tengah tadi. Ya. Boleh pinjam mic-nya. Dan pertanyaannya ditujukan untuk siapa, silakan.
Good morning, my name is Ayla. The question for Ibu Phillia. You were mentioned about the research that McKinsey did in infrastructures. So what do you think the focus of infrastructure for the woman empowerment? Thank you.
Thank you, Laila. So this is related to the amount of hours spent in unpaid care. Work basically for women, right? Now the infrastructure that we identify in Indonesia is actually, one is sanitation, because if you don't have a good sanitation close by, then it's usually the women and nganterin anaknya, go with the family to actually for a good sanitation, right? Two is actually clean water. The third one is actually access to cooking fuel, right? On top of that, there is also one thing worth mentioning, transport infrastructure. And this is probably quite prominent also in urban location because transport and traffic is still an issue. And I even know, a colleague of mine who decided to stopped working and decided to take a job on a less, how do you say, a smaller institution because it's just simply too far away. Travel to Jakarta, dari Cimanggis ke Jakarta itu bisa 2 jam, and she cannot afford that, right? So basically sanitation, clean water, access to household needs like cooking fuel, and also transport infrastructure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Phillia. Next question. Oh, we have a question also from slido.com. Maybe we could read from the online question here. Okay, this is the question to Ibu Nurhaida. How to increase women access to financial sector in regard to collateral requirement because only few of women own their collateral. Ibu Nurhaida. Silakan, Bu.
Thank you. This is a kind of problem that we have right now because when women with small capital would like to borrow, for instance, from bank, the conventional financial institution always asks for collateral. And this is a problem because small companies, they have a small asset, they cannot have a good collateral. So the way the government, or in this case OJK or other government institution, we try to have the regulations that whenever a small, medium enterprises or with a certain level of capital, when they borrow from bank, so they don't have to provide collateral. Actually, the KUR, Kredit Usaha Rakyat, basically to some level, to 25,000, 25 juta borrowing, actually they don't have to provide collateral. But in fact, in reality, I heard a lot of complaint from borrower that whenever they would like to borrow, even only like 25,000 rupiah, then 25 juta rupiah anyway, they still be asked to provide collateral. So I think this is another homework for us. And I can share with audience here that the government actually very supportive to a woman's needs in a capital. So we now in the process of amending or establishing the law. We call it Undang-Undang Kewirausahaan. This is from the government of Indonesia. And in this undang-undang, in the law, there were some requirements for banks and also financial institutions to lend or to give credit to small medium enterprises in a percentage of 40% of their increasing the credit growth. So, but this is not in the enactment yet. We still, the government and the parliament still working on this. But one of the requirements is also to some extent or to some threshold of the borrowing, they don't have to provide a collateral. So I think this is, we are still working on this. The government and also stakeholders still working on this, the law. So if we find, if the law is established, then we will see what is the outcomes of this, because it's still under discussion. So, but I just want to mention that the government really have their support on this kind of needs from the women or for small medium enterprises. Thank you.
Sure, please.
Maybe one of the other areas is that currently in Indonesia there is a movable collateral registry, but the banks are not really using it. And often when banks speaks about collateral, they're talking about land and building or at minimum a motorcycle or a car, whereas businesses have inventory, they have receivables, which could also be used, equipment, which could also be used as collateral towards a loan. But often when they go to a bank, the bank wants a building, they want a car or a motorcycle. So by getting the collateral registry that already exists to become more efficient, to address why is it that banks are not using it more, is one area. The other area that we're seeing that is helping small businesses to get around the collateral is through supply chain financing. This is where the risk is with the big corporation providing contracts for services and goods by small businesses. No need for collateral because the invoice that comes from Nestle is sufficient guarantee for the bank that they're going to get their money. So seeing how we can support greater supply chain financing is another way of getting around that. And as was mentioned earlier, these e-commerce platforms, they contain a lot of data. And the reason why banks are insisting on collateral, one can say it's lazy banking. Oh, we got collateral, so we can give the loan because if they don't repay the loan, we get the collateral. It is actually information asymmetry. So the bank don't know if this is a good credit risk. However, if you're looking at small businesses, many of which are women who are selling on e-commerce platforms, their products, that data is becoming very powerful for financial institutions, both fintechs, financial technology companies that are extending credit to those businesses on those platforms because they can see how much are being sold by those entrepreneurs on those platforms. And there's no need for collateral because that data is very powerful to make an assessment as to whether that's going to be a good credit risk. So there are ways of getting around collateral, but still banks and many financial institutions, even multi-finance companies are insisting on motorcycles, cars, land and buildings, which really shouldn't be the case. They need to be able to assess credit much better.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Is there any more question from the audience, please?
Sure. Good morning. Thank you to all the panelists for the very interesting discussion. I've got two questions. One is generally to the panel. I'm just picking up on one of the points that Ibu Faida made, and that was about reconciling the old values with the new values. Moving from this forward, there is a consensus around this panel that, of course, and among most of us, that women inclusion in economics makes economic sense. It's not only a social imperative, but there is it has economic outcomes that are advantageous to everybody. But what needs to be done to reconcile this economic sense with the social sense? Why would the companies or the CEOs that are feeling very comfortable with the status quo would change this? There is this human element of it. Would this person think that, oh, I would like to start contributing to the household work, and this will contribute to a greater GDP for my country, and then later on to the global? It's not going to happen. Of course, there are certain ways. You already mentioned that, for example, PPP could be one of the ways to help with this, but would that be enough? Would public policies push the private sector enough to reconcile this economic sense with the social sense? My second question is directed to my good friend, Ibu Sabine, and that is regarding the data that you presented, that there is a slide back in the 3 decades in terms of the women participation in the labor force. I would like to hear your views why that is. Thank you.
And the first question addresses to who? Anyone? Okay. Ibu Faida, silakan.
Memang merubah paradigma itu tantangan yang paling sulit. Sebenarnya perempuan sangat ingin berguna buat keluarganya. Perempuan itu sangat senang membantu. Perempuan itu tidak diminta pun selalu membantu. Apalagi istilahnya kalau sudah kepala keluarga, laki-laki sudah bergerak, berjuang, bekerja mencari nafkah, ekonomi keluarga belum juga membaik, maka katanya di roda cadangan harus ikut digerakkan, roda keduanya harus digerakkan. Tetapi sebenarnya yang hambatan dari perempuan, karena perempuan kalau harus keluar rumah terlalu banyak pengorbanan, siapa yang mengurus dalam keluarga. Jadi apabila opportunity-nya itu bisa dia lakukan dari dalam rumah, maka akan lebih banyak lagi perempuan yang berpartisipasi. Problem utama dari perempuan berwirausaha atau bekerja sebenarnya adalah pandangan dari lingkungan bahwa dia meninggalkan tugas utamanya. Selama lingkungan mendukung bahwa perempuan bekerja tidak meninggalkan tugas utamanya, maka perempuan bisa tumbuh berpartisipasi untuk meningkatkan ekonomi keluarga dan ekonomi bangsa. Dan karena jumlah perempuan tidak kalah banyak dengan jumlah laki-laki, maka apabila ini dibiarkan, perempuan akan menjadi beban ekonomi keluarga dan jadi beban ekonomi bangsa. Karena sejatinya banyak perempuan bekerja hanya untuk supaya dia mandiri, tidak menjadi beban keluarga. Tapi lebih banyak lagi apabila diberi kesempatan dan tidak dipersalahkan oleh lingkungan, perempuan justru bisa mengungkit ekonomi keluarga. Siapa yang pernah menyangka bahwa tidak selalu tiang ekonomi keluarga itu adalah laki-laki dari kepala keluarga. Begitu banyak perempuan menjadi tiang ekonomi keluarga, tetapi tidak pula mendapat kesempatan yang sama dengan laki-laki. Oleh karenanya perlu contoh, perempuan perlu contoh dan pemerintah harus turun tangan memayungi hal ini sehingga ketika perempuan mengambil peran dalam ekonomi, perempuan merasa nyaman, perempuan dalam posisi terhormat dan perempuan tetap bisa menjalankan tugas keluarga sehingga perempuan bisa, karena perempuan dilahirkan dengan multitasking sehingga sejatinya tidak ada hambatan kemampuan, hanya hambatan kesempatan dan hambatan pandangan dari lingkungan sekitar. Merubah paradigma menurut saya tidak mudah tetapi tidak pula sulit. Karena sejatinya perempuan senang berguna dan perempuan senang berbuat. Kalau perempuannya yang tidak senang berbuat, ini yang lebih susah. Tapi yang saya optimis karena perempuan sejatinya lebih senang membantu dan lebih senang berbuat. Kira-kira begitu.
Hello, very interesting question, and indeed it is a challenge, right? So it's not only as straightforward as yes, there is an economic benefit and let's just work for it. That's not as simple as that, right? Would like to echo what Ibu Faida said, that we did a survey on women leadership and women in middle management, right? It is true that basically it is not the level of aspiration or ambition. Like we found that basically it's equal between men and women. 80% wants to attain, a leadership position, right? What sometimes falters, by the way, one part is the confidence. When asked, are you confident that you can get into that leadership position? There is a delta between men and women, right? If you ask again, like what caused the delta, right? Yes, there is a mix. There is a mix, right? One thing to note is basically, yes, I think men participation, men's involvement in the belief that basically this is right and this is good, right? We also do research and find that basically complementary leadership, board with 30% women or more, or 30% women at least, right? Actually yield into a better profit. There is correlation to a better performance, and there is correlation to a better company motivation. Usually it becomes, because basically there is a more collaborative decision making, there is ability to empathize more with the employees, and therefore basically there is more motivation, right? So part of this is actually involving the male to be the champion of change as well, maybe Sabine can talk about the he for she later, right? We saw a couple of, some part of the world, there are male that is part of the discussion. Would like to see more males in this room, right? In McKinsey, our global managing director actually is a champion for change. And he made it a point that every time he visits a country, he always have a discussion with all the women in that particular office. And that actually signals commitment, right? The other part that I would have to say also, part of the fight is actually the women confidence itself. Sometimes it's actually with us. Because, there are some part that sometimes the macan ternak discussion, right? My son is 7, so I have a couple of friends who are macan ternak, Bu. Yeah. So basically, sometimes the discussion goes in, oh, don't work so hard, lah. Don't let your children suffer and all this kind of discussion, right? And then if you have ambition, some other people will say, oh yeah, be careful, blah, blah, right? So basically, I think just want to say that basically, women, we also need to have the confidence and we need to root for the other women also, right? And to find a way to actually encourage other women to succeed, right?
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Phillia. Is there any more additional from Ibu Nurhaida and Mrs. Sabine, right? But because we're running out of time, please make it brief and short. Thank you.
Just small things to add, mungkin kembali ke paradigm, saya pakai bahasa Indonesia aja karena agak. Yang kayaknya yang harus ditekankan di sini adalah paradigm ke diri kita sendiri, kita cuman punya satu hidup. Bagaimana memanfaatkan dengan sebaik-baiknya. Memanfaatkan dengan sebaik-baiknya ini bukan berarti uang sebanyak-banyaknya, tetapi bermanfaat, punya impact dan sebagainya. Apakah ini old values atau new values? Tadi ada pertanyaan di slides tentang fundamentalis. Sebenarnya kalau kembali ke agama, agama tidak membedakan sama sekali. Bahkan saya selalu paling senang melihat ke wal asri, di mana kita hanya bermanfaat kalau kita beriman, beramal soleh, saling membantu, menasihati akan kebenaran, kesabaran dan juga kasih sayang. Artinya kita tidak bisa tunggu bro, tidak bisa jadi macan ternak, harus melakukan yang terbaik. Apakah itu bekerja, apakah itu beraktivitas di komunitas, apakah punya pekerjaan di rumah dan sebagainya. Intinya setiap orang tidak mau terkukung sehingga seakan-akan tidak punya pilihan untuk memanfaatkan waktunya dengan sebaik-baiknya.
Thank you very much. Very briefly on the first question, I think it's a very difficult one because usually it's difficult to change other people, right? And the only person that I can change is myself. So I think what I can do, this is what I usually think of, is how do I educate my boys? Yeah, which sort of values do I give them? How do I actually talk to them? And I think for all of us, who have families or who have, friends around us, how do we influence them? And how do we actually work towards more respect for each other and really, sharing the burdens as well that we have? I think this would be the studies that have been quoted also by McKinsey a lot and others today. I think this is very helpful for showing that we're really losing out so much by not empowering women and having them included. I think that's one of the steps which maybe can help us at least intellectually understanding all these benefits. On the second question on the labor force participation, it has actually increased in some parts of the world. In the Caribbean and in Latin America, female participation has increased, but in Asia it has gone back. And this is mainly due to the factors in China and in India, because of the restructuring of the economies, and in China also because there was less governmental sponsored childcare facilities. So this has gone down from before 90% to 30-something%. So this is why so many women actually fell out of the labor force. And that's why you saw the numbers in Asia in particular going backwards in the trends. But overall it's always around only 50%, which is very low, globally in any case.
So just a quick one. One other area, especially for the private sector, is that there's this EDGE certification for companies, for corporations that are implementing gender equitable policies and practices in the workplace. And the more we can get companies, at least the top tier companies, to have this accreditation, you could have the kind of name and shame, oh, we're not part, we better be part of that. And that can get the wave of everyone and all private sector companies at least having proper practices, having childcare, having other facilities in the workplace that can support women.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rubin. I hope the answers are clear for you. All right, and I think that will be the last question for this session. And we're going to continue later on to the second session. Please give a big round of applause to all the panelists here. They're all amazing. We get so much. This is a very enlightening discussion and a very important issue indeed, and need a very special attention from everyone, not only the government or the public sector, ya Bu, ya. And so I can sum up a little to support women's participation in economic inclusiveness by partnering up with private sectors, non-bank institutions. We could open up more opportunity to women to increase their confidence in doing business, not just unpaid work, and allocate the national budget to women's infrastructure, and most importantly, change the mindset so we could together achieve the planet 50-50 by 2030, like Ibu Johanna Yembise has said. Once again, thank you very much for the attention, the cooperative audience and the panelists. And now I'm giving it back to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you, Moderator. And all of the speakers, please kindly remain on your place because I will ask Mr. Pargiono, the Director of Center for Climate Finance and Multilateral, to present a token of appreciation to speakers and moderator. Starting from Ibu Nurhaida, and then Mr. Rubin, Ibu Vivi Alatas, Mrs. Sabine Machl, Ibu Faida, Ibu Phillia Wibowo, and Miss Zivana Letisha.